Hello all, hello. This might be one to pay attention to because I'm feeling a bit loopy today. Not sure why, it's just the words seem to be coming out kind of weird. From my head to the page, I don't know what's with me. Let's see. It's phasing this first time. It brought Bells back to her first combat experience. That raid at that outpost in Western Europe. It had been quite a fight. Bunch of golems. Was that in anti-infantry type golems showed up unexpectedly. Bells squeezed off, exchanged shots with one of them for what seemed like 20 minutes, but was actually more like 5. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat for some reason. Like 20 minutes. What was actually more like 5. She went through most of her ammo, but finally took down that golem. My golem who went up in flames. She blew the hell out of what was it called? Was it a depot? The outpost. Post around him. The fuel depot, the armory, and the main CP. All going up in flames. She was known as the pilot who accidentally destroyed enemy base. And somehow, the enemy found out it was her, because she was a wanted woman in Western Europe afterwards. Not that the East didn't want to arrest her as well, and she had shown a proclivity to... Wow, I spelled that word right on the first try. That's unbelievable. Probably the hardest word to ever spell. Shown a proclivity to blowing up military bases. The official not that the East didn't want to arrest her as well. Is that a double negative? The East. Not that the East didn't want to arrest her as well. Yeah, double negative. Wonder if that's in other languages. I'll have to leave that to the editor. Didn't want to edit. Didn't want to arrest. Let's see. There was did take out a golem on her first outing. And that was impressive, considering they weren't at war. Weren't in a war. Naturally, it wasn't war. Bells performed much better on her second and third outing, showing that there was truth. Truth in that old saying. Practice makes perfect. Should also learn from the masters, folks. There's a reason why when people go to schools, like to be a brain surgeon, they want to study under the oldest and most experienced teachers. It's the same thing with writing. Read the latest by the most prolific and famous authors of today, and you'll probably learn a thing or two as well as enjoy yourself. You gotta kind of enjoy fiction to be a good writer, I think. Like, you have to actually enjoy stuff. You can't just read non-fiction and research material. Let's see, where's anything? Yeah. Belzecut studied under one of Belza's teachers had been Doma Dread, who just died right in front of here. I said call him Dread. Check. History was seasoned. Dying right in front of her. She wasn't going to die like him. There's 2 left. Destroy them, Belza yelled, like some Saturday morning cartoon villain. Fired her own cannon twice at the nearest still standing. Fellow had been trying to adopt a more stooped position. Stoop. Darn it, that's stumped. Stooped? Is that how you say it? Stooped? Yeah, hunched. Deformed. He became more deformed as he adopting a more stooped position is to try to make himself a harder target. I've heard the phrase easier target, but is harder target a thing? I'm not sure. To Belza's. He failed in that regard. Belza's rounds both hit him. He went back. And he dropped backwards. On his back. On his back. First, earlier guy. Let's see. Reclining. Yeah. Laying flat. Check. That's tone. Let's see. On his back. Rather limply. Or something made of metal instead of flesh. Both rounds had ripped through the body quite extensively, while the cockpit area seemed intact. The suit was no longer a threat. Belza moved on instantly to the last foe, the cyber demon from Doom. Nah. Let's see. A standard anti-infantry golem with an almost plastic green paint job. Looked like some oversized kid's toy. Except for his 80mm cannon, or his 100mm cannon. Did they all 3 have 100mm? Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if this would be easier to do as a comic book. If I would do a comic book, I think I'd want to do it with no words at all, besides maybe 1 line at the start. That'd be a neat little experiment, a comic with no dialogue, no words, no exposition, no statements. It's just, you see the story. What would the title be? The title would be The Only Writing. The Jade War. Yeah, that's what I'd call it. You want to know who was who or what was what? It'd be all for the viewer to speculate on. Of course, they could just look at this story that I'm writing here and they'd know all the details. Once I did a completely new story. Let's see. You're mine, Belza proclaimed. Fired 2 shots at the last golem. Enemy golem. He dodged. Let's see. Check. Enemy golem. Kill. Let's check. He dodged that shot, diving forward and prone. From there, he fired 2 more shots in reply. Both of them struck a friendly golem right near Belza. He wasn't sure who got at first, but it wasn't one of the seasoned guys. It It was some greener pilot, but not. It was a greener pilot named Luke Call would come days who she heard was some 17-year-old who had lived his whole life wanting to fight the Zedans who massacred his home village. There was a hope that he got a few of the enemy, at least before they took him out. When Daya's suit exploded outward, Belza found herself thrown in the open, thrown to the side as though getting caught in the blast of a grenade. The back of Belza's suit ended up a few big pieces of shrapnel buried in it. But it looked a lot worse than it was, like a lot of golem injuries. Some pilots swore that they bonded so close to their suits. Let's see, science so close to their suits that some pilots swore that they bonded so close that they could feel the pain of the suits when they were injured. Like the suits were living things. Belza didn't buy such talk. She knew a suit wasn't a living thing in the slightest. Had no soul, no mind, nothing organic in it, besides various sorts of fuel. Besides the fuel and oil. She supposed even the synthetic stuff counted. Let's see, watch that Wes Craven's first movie, The Last House on the Left. If you've seen it, you know it's very intense and horrifying. I mean, it's quite a thing for that to be your first movie. You talk about coming out swinging. Never would have been made in Bogart's day, I tell you. Kind of a shame Bogart didn't live to the great uncensoring of film in the 60s and 70s. It would have been... No one ever will get to hear what it sounds like when Humphrey Bogart says the word fuck. Let's see. Besides fuel and oil, just about even the symbolic stuff counted. A person saying golem had a soul and could feel pain. You might as well believe the same thing about some child's action figure. Or die, you bastard. Belza. And Brandt ended up promoted to captain. I don't know. That's probably the rank. I mean, pushing it to make her a female officer in World War II. Making her a captain. Well, probably mostly an honorary thing. The Nazis were not known for their progressive views on women. They were known for a lot of very unprogressive views, actually. Like that some people didn't even have the right to exist, and so on. And that's all I'll get into, because this is about writing, not about history. Belza grunted, from the ground. She still had her 100mm cannon at the ready. She fired 2 shots. It struck the last golem, at least in this sector, about his chest. Bill staggered back, throwing his rifle, throwing his own cannon up in the air, almost like some famous photo of a dying gorilla in the Zagodan Civil War. I think that photo is the main picture for that article on Wikipedia, but I'm not sure. It's kind of odd that photo of one guy getting killed would be the picture, when usually it's a picture of troops marching and tanks. Not that there were many tanks in the Spanish Civil War. Probably not that many. I mean, how would you build it? I mean, I don't think they had the industry to build tanks, the Spanish, and they certainly had a lot of trouble rebuilding after the Civil War, as any country would. Even America would. It took decades to recover from the Civil War, our Civil War. Thankfully, the only one so far. But, you know, there might be another one someday. Who knows? It'll probably be the end of the world if that happens. Anger on the Civil War. He collapsed to the ground before the suit burst open with fire, shooting in all directions, like the golem was being dragged down to hell. The various pieces, the suit stayed mostly in one piece, besides the big chunks of metal that flew free. Flew free. Yeah, flew. The chunks of metal that flew free. Like rocks out of in a volcanic eruption. That last pilot definitely died in his cockpit. The pilot, it was more ambiguous with the pilot of the second suit. Ambiguous. The name is Ambiguous Jones. Vague. Which hadn't gone up in flames, and the cockpit intact. Should we leave the pilot of the should we leave the pilot in his suit to reflect? Belza asked her comrades. Just check my notes. Belza, it said nadist instead of nudist. Maybe that would up the fan service a bit if she was naked when she was piloting the suit, but who would know that she was naked unless you were in the cockpit with her? Presumably the enemy would never know. Let's see. Told asked her comrades, pointing to the second suit. Just leave him. Dillo Homgret suggested. Replied, maybe I'll come back in a new suit down the line and be a real threat. Right. Belza agreed. Maybe you wouldn't feel that way if that golem pilot came back and killed him. That was a thought that Dio was the sort of man who would like to kill all of his enemies. He's mercilessly. No room for sparing a fools so they could be fought later. It wasn't like they were fighting a weaker nation. Okay? They had, for every golem and soldier that the underground had, the enemy had about 100 of golems and 10,000 or so infantry, and Belzer was pretty sure that math was fuzzy. The ratio probably a lot more gigantic tipped in the enemy's scale. The enemy's favor, not scale. Enemy scale. Where did I hear enemy scale from? Gotta check if that's somewhere. Okay, folks, 21 minutes in. Have a nice day. Enjoy your own writing. And remember, writing is a great way to put your mind on other things besides stress and whatnot. It's probably why there's so many fan fiction writers out there. I'll see ya.